Again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you, the last couple of weeks, I did notice that when you guys have had some leads, at least in the second half, they started to diminish a little bit. How concerning is that for you moving forward with these final two games?
You know what? There's a couple different narratives. I think you look at it. I thought we stalled a little bit offensively against Washington. We gave up some explosives in the pass game where that thing got tight. Yesterday, it was a reflection of you get a blocked punt. I thought that really hurt us on the holding call that got called back when we sprung a long run. And there's always going to be different things, but we do want to be able to find ways to finish games and be able to pull away. I think we're continuing to learn how to be able to put together complete games. I know we're improving. In some instances, those can be more beneficial than anything, so you don't take anything for granted. But especially each of the last couple weeks where we've had pretty much full command of the game into the fourth quarter, and then it gets to a one possession game. Those will definitely be things that we emphasize and try to do a better job of finishing it the right way.
And also, too, I noticed yesterday you guys had a visit from premier player Shohei Ohtani. How was that for you, just meeting him for the first time? And were you guys able to try to see if he can come out for some practice runs, running
Dude,
some?
hey, he can do whatever he wants. He's always welcome. It was cool to be able to have him. I mean, he didn't realize how big he was. He had a great way about himself. It was really cool to be able to meet him. I'm a fan of his, and I'm a huge fan of Dave Roberts. And so I think I know how jacked up he is to be able to have him on the squad. And so that was really cool. And I know a lot of the guys got a chance to meet him. So he is welcome anytime for however we can take care of him.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
You got it, Nick.
Maria.
Hey, good morning, Sean.
Morning.
With two regular season games left on the road, what are your biggest concerns at this point?
Really the biggest concerns, I don't necessarily think it's concerns as much as let's just continue to stay locked in. Let's keep loving what we're doing. Let's focus on just being totally and completely present. I think right now it'll be great for these guys to have a couple days. That was a really quick turnaround. And it's almost amazing how it works out where you kind of get a little bit of a mini bye. I think that'll serve us well. I have total trust in the maturity of this group to be able to enjoy their families and then come back ready to roll on Tuesday with a great week of preparation leading into the Giants. And that's where our focus and concentration will be. But no concerns as much as just want to continue to see this group, take steps in the right direction like you guys have seen.
Are you surprised, or maybe even not surprised, but you've seen rookies mature over time? This group seems to have done it at an accelerated pace.
Yeah, I think it's a huge credit to those guys. And then really, I think they're coaches. You look at the position coaches, the coordinators, they've done such a good job, Maria, of really connecting with these guys, continuing to challenge them. But this is a really mature rookie class. I think there was a very specific, fits and things that we were looking for, Les and his group and our group as a coaching staff in terms of, the mental makeup and then the physical traits and characteristics that they bring to the table. And these guys have done a great job. They're really mature and they've had a huge impact. And it really has been beneficial for where we're at right now.
Thanks, Sean. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Maria.
Sarah.
Hey, Sean, did you guys come out of the game with any injuries?
No, we're actually good. Unless something changes, came out clean with all our checks afterwards, your typical bumps and bruises, but nothing that, nothing of note. And so that's a blessing. And let's put it this way. If anybody comes in today after I gave them a couple days off, you'll know they're really hurt. So we'll pray that doesn't happen.
And then when you look at the depth you have in the receivers room, what difference does that make for this offense? Look at the team you guys had last year, and I know there were injuries, but to kind of the guys you have in the room now.
Yeah, I think it's big, Sarah. You guys have heard me mention it. We've got some great players that have had really good production, but I think we're at our best when the ball gets spread around. And you look at, our three starting receivers all had really good production. Higbee had a couple catches, and you've got a guy like Tutu Atwell that has made a bunch of plays for us throughout the course of this year. You've seen Davis Allen over the last couple of weeks be able to step up if need be. And so I think when you're looking at that skill group, not exclusive to the receivers, that's what we're really interested in. But, the depth of that room has been big, Sarah. And I think you're really seeing Matthew establish a really good rapport with those guys. And, I can't say enough about the leadership of Eric Yarber and how good of a job he does with them. And, along with Jake Peets and KJ Black, like I mentioned last night.
What does that do for you as a play caller when you have those options?
It's everything is open, and ultimately it starts with Matthew, and Matthew does such a great job enabling us to activate a lot of different things that maybe teams couldn't do otherwise. I think the offensive line's protected really well. Our backs are doing an excellent job. Kyren being able to allow us to stay on schedule. So football is the greatest team sport that there is. They go hand in hand, and I think it's a huge credit to those guys getting it done. But if you're going to be a good offense, you better be able to do both. And I think we've had that reflected over the last, handful of games, and it's about how you move forward. And we got to continue to do that if we want to, go where we're trying to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam.
Sean, it seemed like Ernest really set the tone for the defense with the back-to-back PBU and sack to drive the Saints out of field goal range there, the first drive of the game, and kind of did the same thing with the TFL on 1st and goal at the end of the Washington game. Like, how have you seen him step up in those big moments for the defense?
He's a stud, Adam. I mean, this guy, every time you guys ask me about him, it's like you don't even have the right words to articulate what an energizer he is for our team, and the passion that is so authentic, and the swag, and just he is a tough stud that has a great way about himself. People just love being around this guy. He's got a timely way of making big time plays. I think you're seeing him feel really good, and he provides a toughness, of physicality, and just a presence in the middle of our defense that has been a huge factor for us. And he's made an outstanding impact. And those plays that you just, brought up were huge in the last 2 weeks. And he's been a stud, man. I'm really happy to see him shining, and does a great job leading the defense, with the green dot and everything. And I'm really happy for Ernest.
Puka said yesterday you've been preaching that the playoffs have already started for this team. Does the way that these young guys have been ready for this moment, what does that tell you about the short and long-term future of this team?
Yeah, I think what it tells you is that these guys are able to go handle these opportunities that have been earned, but still be able to go play light, loose, and love the opportunities that they've earned. That's what I want to be able to see. And you talk about it, it's a great opportunity. This is a blessing to be in these types of positions, and these guys have earned the right to play meaningful games into December. And then obviously, when we play the Giants, I think it'll be New Year's, right? Will it be New Year's, or it might still be December? I don't know. Either way, I just know that the next game is going to be either at the end of December or in the very early parts of January, and we got to keep it rolling. But these guys have done an awesome job, and it's been really special to see.
Thanks, Sean. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too, man.
Jordan.
Hey, Sean, good morning. Thanks for doing this. This off season, I mean, you usually have staff depart for opportunities every off season, but this last off season was a little bit different in that you departed with some people, and then also you went about hiring earlier in the process than you'd normally gotten a chance to. Can you think back to that process and what a couple of key traits that were important to you in finding those new assistant coaches and coordinator in terms of Mike and Chase, and then kind of what you learned from the process of that talent identification?
Yeah, I think it's consistent with all the things that have made really good coaches that have come in and out of here, Jordan. It's identifying guys that, number one, know how to connect. Number one, are you a good person? What kind of character as a human being do you have? And then number two, what's your ability to communicate and connect with the players? What kind of capacity do you have to be able to teach and help elevate these guys? And all of those people are checking those boxes. And I think the benefit, of, not exclusive to Mike and Chase, which, love those guys. They've done an outstanding job. But, all the guys that we've brought in, they come from different backgrounds. That's enabled us to be able to kind of mesh and mold different thought processes and philosophies and make it the Rams 2023 way. But I think the things that are consistent and foundationally derived in what we've always tried to do, or what we always do want to do, maybe haven't always, done, and really I'm talking about myself, is commit to those things that I mentioned. It's connecting, it's caring about these guys. It's having a high capacity for being able to teach and get these guys to reach and realize their highest, potential. And if you do that, and then you got some grit about yourself, I think a lot of these guys have experiences where there's a mental toughness that's accommodated some of those different things. And all of those things have been really beneficial in the steadiness of this group, Jordan. is why I think is one of the factors in what's enabled us to be, in the position that we're in. And the story, like I told you guys last week, is still being written. But I'm really proud to be associated with these guys, players and coaches, and I know they've made me better. And I think it's really powerful when you're motivated because you don't want to let people down, as opposed to some of the selfish ambitions that people can have. And this is a really selfless group, and they make you want to be more selfless for them as well.
How can you tell, or how do you discern that when someone is able to teach versus simply explain?
That is a great question. I think you go based on, I think in a lot of instances, I think some of it is intuition. You got to trust your gut. When you've done something for a long time, and you have different experiences to draw on, you trust that. You use different resources, whether it's previous experiences, or really just, you take them through it. Right? Hey, teach me this, take me out on the field. You want to be really thorough with some of your interview processes, but it's a combination of all of those things. And then being in the right environments. I do know this, you two guys that stood out to me in particular, when you talk about Nick Caley and Ryan Wendell, different background in terms of working under Coach Belichick, but I did know this. I knew that if they were working under him, whether it was Ryan as a player, and then, his experiences in Buffalo, and then Nick in all his years in New England, you're like, hey, these guys are going to, have a process, have a discipline. There's a mental toughness that's accompanied with their approach. And those things are beneficial, very similar to what Shane Waldron brought, with, his background and how influential he was on me because of the experiences he had there.
Thanks. And then last from me, it looks like you guys are back to using so much space on the field, not just horizontally, but vertically, and then also the sidelines. And that's something obviously you've preached for a long time, but gotten back to, I think, this year a little bit more. But when you teach or explain that to younger players coming up, how do you conceptualize how much of the field is available for them to use, and how do you teach and conceptualize how you can manipulate that space through some of the pre and post snap stuff you do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to that question right there, but I think ultimately what you want to be able to, make the defense defend every blade of grass, both horizontally and vertically. And there's different ways to be able to do that, whether it's, getting to different locations through utilizing motion, which you saw us do a lot last night and what we've done the last couple of weeks. You might align in some condensed different things that, you try to be able to marry up things, but it's, it's part of our philosophy, as you know, and ultimately it can come to life when you're able to be efficient on early downs. I think that's been the key thing is you can have a philosophy, but if you're not able to have those things, continuously presented by your ability to get more plays off and be efficient in the player's execution, then it's challenging. But when they're doing what they've done, it always is about those guys, and they've played at a really high level, and it's enabled us to do some things that, can give you a chance to, be more difficult to defend. But it is about those guys, and I really love working with them, and I'm happy to see, what they've done, and hey, let's keep it going.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Gary.
Hey, Sean.
Gary.
Are you guys going to bring in a kicker to
You just kind of cut out. That's not something that we're thinking about. I think
Ace Lucas this week?
you kind of cut out. Did you ask me if we're going to work out a kicker, Gary? I'm going to assume that's what he asked. Like,
Yeah, I think I froze up.
Okay.
Hey,
No, that's
go ahead. Sorry.
no, you're good. I can hear you now.
Yeah, my computer's freezing up.
Okay. I think I understood. I think I heard the beginning part of your question, so I'll try best to answer it. That's not something that we're interested in right now. When you look at the whole operation, it's snap, hold, and kick. And, when you haven't had Alex Ward, that makes a big difference. He's done a really good job. And so all of those things go hand in hand. I know the kicker is the one that, everybody wants to kind of pin on, oh, it's a missed kick because he's the one that gets tagged with the stat. But there's a lot of layers to it. We want to look at it. We want to figure out what's the best way to get our whole operation tighter. And those will be things that we'll look for. But as it relates to Lucas, that's not something that we're thinking about right now, other than, continuing to move forward with him and help him, continue to, have the best opportunity for success with everything that process and procedure entails.
And in regard to Ernest Jones, inside linebacker is not a position that you guys have traditionally invested heavily in long term. Is he a guy that, going into the final year of his contract next year, that you guys might look at extending?
Yeah, he's a stud, Gary. I mean, we love him. And, I wouldn't say that. I think there's certain backgrounds and experiences, but it's always about the player and what they mean. And, I was asked earlier that, just what he means to this team. He's a captain. He's got such an energy. He's had great production, with Adam, when Adam was asking me about that earlier. And I love what he's doing. And he has made that position, more valuable than whatever, the league values because of his impact, not only the production, but as a player, but more importantly, as a person and the way he elevates everybody around him. And we love him. And I'm really grateful to have him on this squad.
And then finally, you guys have, been pretty much rolling since the bye, and you performed well with a quick turnaround. Is there any concern at all with this break that of losing that momentum, and because you guys have been playing so well for this stretch?
No, Gary, I look at it as let's regain that momentum that we got on the bye, so that was a good momentum where we had a little break right there. We're going to be positive, Gary, not negative. We got a good chance to refresh and reset. So, no, I think these guys will be smart. I think it'll serve them well. It is a really quick turnaround on these Thursday games. And so I have total trust and confidence in the maturity of this group to appreciate their families for the next couple of days, but come back ready to rock and roll on Tuesday and get ready for the Giants. And we'll be able to get a good jump on them coaching-wise. So, not something I'm concerned about, and we got to do a great job of handling our business.
All right, thanks very much. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too, Gary.
Stu.
Hey, Sean, I know you were asked about Kyren Williams last night. You mentioned play energy, production work ethic, and all those things. But from the standpoint of footwork, vision, setting up blocks, and all those things, the way he does those skills or carries out those skills specifically, how does that help you as a play caller, both when those plays involving him go right, and in some cases where maybe he's forced to improvise?
Unbelievable. I mean, his ability to be able to create in contested areas, and you just mentioned, be able to set blocks. A play might be blocked for 3, and then you're sitting up there and those guys up top, hey, it's 2nd down and 2. I said, holy, that's a hell of a deal right there. I mean, he just enabled us to be able to stay on schedule, and he gets more than what's there. He does a great job of being able to work in collaboration and coordination with our offensive line, with the tight ends. He really understands and owns the intent of each of these plays, where they're designed to hit, what is the design of the play. And Ron Gould does a phenomenal job of really, keeping him on the screws with the discipline and the detail. But this has been something that's made him a special player, going back to his high school days and then at Notre Dame. And it's really fun to watch him shine, but he is a great instinctual runner, especially in those close quarters, that short space quickness, that ability to be able to put his foot in the ground and get skinny in the hole. And it's awesome. I'm glad you asked about that, Stu. He has been creating, and it has been a key factor in some of the things that we've done okay offensively.
And then I know you guys obviously don't operate out of 11 personnel exclusively, but how do you balance knowing what Tutu has done well and contributed to the offense with what DeMarcus has obviously also done, and not wanting to take away from either of those guys and their contributions?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was a unique set of circumstances. DeMarcus has done a great job, but we've got to be able to find a way, and I got to be able to find a way to get Tutu involved. He had the concussion, ended up missing, the majority of the Baltimore game, and then last week, and then on a short turnaround. And so he does bring a unique skill set, something that has been beneficial to our team this year. And so continuing to find ways of maximizing all of our guys is something that is, my job and our job as coaches. And, while it's been awesome to watch DeMarcus, he's going to continue to do an excellent job for us. And then figuring out ways of getting Tutu involved, because he does have the ability to play in a bunch of different spots in our offense, is something that we'll for sure have to figure out. And that's something that I'm committed to for him and for our team, because I think it'll make us better.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Greg.
Hey, Sean, how did Kobe Durant look taking over at that role and getting back to playing a lot like he did earlier in the year?
Did a good job. I thought he played well at the outside spot. I think that was a tough play that, like I had mentioned to you guys last night, I'll be interested to see how they saw that. I thought he was in good position and was going up to be able to make a play, but I like what he did. I thought he played discipline. I think Aubrey Pleasant does a phenomenal job with that back end as a whole. He and Coach Beek and Mike Harris. And so it's been good to see Kobe and his ability to be able to, play outside, which you saw exclusively last night. But also if he needed to bump inside, he can do that. And so I was really pleased with Kobe.
And I know you said you're not interested in the new kicker, and there's a lot of things involved and everything, and it's a whole unit. But when you've as a team, you've missed more field goals than any team has in the NFL in the last 8 years. How does that not come into your head in game management situations when your drive stalls at like 25 and you have to think about that? How do you approach that as a game manager?
Oh, it does. It's something that I was talking about it, and there was some opportunities that you have to be considerate of. All right, are you operating in 4-down territory, maybe different than what you had in previous situations? And so I think you have to continue to monitor, the ability to execute at a high level. And if not, then maybe you're saying, hey, we're operating with a different mode and mindset. And so those are things that we'll definitely have to identify. And especially when every single game matters so much and points are at a premium. And you like to be able to finish these drives where you're just hopefully kicking extra points. But it certainly is something that comes into, the thought process, especially given the things that you mentioned.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
We'll wrap up with you, Dennis.
Okay. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Hey, Dennis. Good. How are you?
Good. That sequence in the second quarter where you guys make a defensive stand on 4th down and turn around and score, how big was that? How critical was that?
That was huge. A lot of people talk about the middle 8, Dennis, especially because we were getting the ball coming out of the second half. And I think we've done a really good job of being able to lap people the last couple of weeks, take advantage of getting points at the end of the half and then being able to get points coming out of the second half as well. And so that was a key and critical stop by the D. Outstanding job. And then for us to be able to go punch that thing in with a touchdown, to be able to take that lead into the half and then be able to get points coming out in the second, in the start of the second half was huge. So I've really liked the way that our team has played complementary football. I think that's been a big factor in why we've done well. And then the point of emphasis will be, hey, you guys are earning the right to be in those positions. And now let's consistently finish it out for 4 quarters where it doesn't have to be, so nerve-wracking for me and for our team.
Well, for that sequence to play out, how much does the veteran leadership say of Stafford to punch the ball into the end zone and defense, led by Aaron and Ernest, how does that come into play?
It was huge. Those guys have really elevated everybody, Dennis, and it was big. And I thought Matthew's ability to manage that situation, especially to be able to score with, I think there was, 21 seconds or something like that left, but you're able to efficiently use the clock. I thought Tim Burbinik did a great job of communicating to me in terms of some of the clock management in regards to when to use a timeout and his feelings on those situations. And so it was really big by the players to execute. And it always starts with those leaders that you mentioned. Really, really proud of those guys.
Last question I want to ask is, what has John Johnson brought to your defense?
He's brought a veteran leadership presence. He's brought great production. I think he's moving around. I think he's tackling really well. That 4th down stop that he had was a big one. He's had good ball production. He just brings a calmness to the back end. This is an experienced guy. He's got his legs underneath him. He's feeling healthy, but he's also just got such a confidence and a steadiness about himself where, he makes everybody else around him feel a little bit more at ease, a little bit more comfortable pre-snap, especially with some of the different things that we're doing. And it's been great having JJ back with us.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a happy Christmas.
Hey, you too. Happy holidays to all you guys.